Howdy everyone, I'm John Kenific, Old Man New Art, and welcome to my channel where we focus on your confidence, creativity, and career. Creativity at its core is about finding new ways of seeing the world. As artists, designers, or anyone involved in creative work, it's easy to fall into familiar patterns and routines. And to help counter that, we're going to take a more hands-on approach today and show you 2 exercises that I do to free myself from my familiar bag of tricks. The first exercise explores the power of foreign lines. When making art, the lines we put down are, to some degree, extensions of ourselves, effortless. We become familiar with making certain marks to convey visual structure and depth as well as emotion, and we know where the line is going and, for the most part, where it will end. But what if we bring ourselves to a time when we knew very little about lines? Think back to learning to write the alphabet, a time where we not only lacked a firm grasp of what we were learning, but also had very little dexterity in accomplishing the task. The act of learning a foreign writing system such as Japanese hiragana or kanji can profoundly change the way that you perceive lines and shapes. In learning how to draw kanji, the artist is required to focus on the delicate balance between the simple and the complex. The strokes that form kanji are minimalist, yet they're loaded with meaning. By engaging in the practice of writing these characters, one becomes attuned to the subtlety of form, the elegance of straight lines, the fluidity of curves, and the balance between light and heavy strokes. Unlike Western alphabets, kanji characters are rooted in ideograms, where each character represents a concept or object. This adds a layer of meaning to the shapes, forcing you to reconsider the very essence of line work. When I first started doing this, I found that my beginner's mindset challenged in just grasping the precise stroke order. This exercise alters how you approach line work in your creative practice. When applied to drawing, painting, graphic design, or any visual art to some degree, you might find yourself reconsidering the lines you use to represent objects and becoming more intentional with a greater appreciation for the role that each stroke plays in the final image. This foreign system of writing breaks your habit of looking at lines purely as tools for creating object outlines. By stepping into a foreign approach like learning hiragana or kanji or any other non-Latin script, you engage in the process of abstraction while honing your ability to understand form in its purest sense. Now, the second creative exercise is geared toward finding your footing in the abstract. It involves taking random blotches and searching for imagery within them. This practice brings us back to the childhood game of finding shapes in the clouds. But when intentionally applied, it becomes a profound tool for generating new ideas. The process begins with spontaneity. Create random shapes with any medium, any palette, whatever you like. I like using watercolors because I'm not that great at it. And as you can see here, I'm moving the paint around like a chimp.
Hey!
But the added lack of control, it adds, I think, to the randomness of my marks, and it plays further into distancing myself from any preconceived idea of what the result should be. This randomness breaks down the mental barriers imposed by logic and structure, allowing the subconscious mind to step in and explore. The next step is to actively search for recognizable imagery. The resulting blotches are pure abstraction, shapes that lack defined edges, colors that may clash, and forms that don't represent anything familiar. After you've made your blotches, you want to go in and find your shapes. Now, if you want, you can dive in right after you create your abstract shapes, but I like to wait at least a day, and I sometimes spend a while making these shapes and letting them sit for a week or two to remove myself further from their creation. Again, as you can see, these doodles are just that, doodles, scribblings, that bring me to something unexpected, and they usually remain in my notebook. Or if I do hit on something that I like, I can develop it. This shift from abstraction to recognition taps into a deep-seated human tendency to find patterns where none were intended, a mechanism known as pareidolia. I think the best way to explain that is it's like finding images of Jesus in your toast or your shower. And when applied to shapes, this natural instinct becomes a creative force, unlocking imagery that may have otherwise remained hidden. It encourages a new kind of artistic freedom where forms emerge organically rather than being imposed from the start. Both exercises share a common thread. They ask us to step away from conventional thinking and remove our base of reference. In the first exercise, learning Japanese characters or another foreign line system rewires how we perceive the elements of a line helping us to appreciate the emotional and conceptual weight that they carry. And lines are no longer lines, they're just boundaries. They're symbols of movement, tension, and sometimes even stillness. And the second exercise in creating random shapes frees the artist from the constraints of form and allows the mind to wander and discover something new. By imposing no initial structure, you invite the unexpected into your creative process. And the cool thing that I realize is that while these two exercises may seem distinct and separate, they complement and play off each other beautifully. The structure and discipline learned from studying foreign lines can give you a new appreciation for the random shapes and forms that emerge from abstraction. On the other end, the freedom of playing with random color and shapes can reinvigorate how you approach structured exercises like kanji drawing, infusing them with a newfound spontaneity. And incorporating these exercises into your creative routine can help you break free from traditional methods and rediscover the joy of exploration. Together, these practices cultivate a deeper understanding of structure and abstraction, paving the way for innovative visual expression. So that's it for me today, and I want to leave you with the words of Steve Jobs, who said, "Creativity is just connecting things. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it. They just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while." Thanks very much for watching. See you next video. Bye.